The Conservancy is an all-volunteer, nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting Swampscott's, the town of Swampscott in the preservation of conservation land and open space through education, research, and active stewardship. Over our 5-year history, it's hard to believe, but 5 years have passed since we first formed. We've opened new hiking trails, we've installed native plant gardens in town, hosted hiking and biking events, and cleaned up beaches. We've also very concerned about wildlife in our neighborhood, and we've hosted presentations in the past on coyotes, turkeys, birds of prey, and now tonight we're going to have Dan talk to us about human interaction with wildlife. If you want to learn more about the Conservancy, please do check out our website, swampscottconservancy.org, and to help us continue our efforts, please, we invite you to become members, and if you are already a member, please renew your membership for 2023. One thing I will mention, we do have an upcoming presentation on how to rid your life of plastics that was originally scheduled for December 5th. That has now been changed to December 12th. So please check our website. I hope we'll see you there. We're doing that in conjunction with the UU Church of Greater Lynn. And now a few words about our speaker. Dan Proulx grew up in Somerville and currently resides in Marblehead. Before helping with animals, Dan served in the U.S. Army for 5 years. He was the first full-time animal control officer in Swampscott. He served in that capacity for over 3 years, and we certainly do miss him and his expertise, especially now that we've had an increase in wildlife activity both in the region and in our town. One of Dan's passions is working on rehabbing birds of prey. He has worked within our region and in New Hampshire with staff from the On the Wing Rehabbing Birds of Prey. Dan has a Massachusetts Wildlife Rehabilitation license and has enough working hours with birds of prey to apply for his federal wildlife rehabilitation license. In the past, he has helped local animal control officers, environmental police, mass wildlife, and local police departments with various wildlife issues. Dan currently holds a problem animal control agent license, usually called a PAC or PAC agent or trapper. He has been a volunteer at the Marblehead shelter for over 6 years and is currently animal inspector for Marblehead and assists their animal control department as needed. In his spare time, Dan volunteers at Wolf Hollow up in Ipswich to advocate for gray timber and Arctic wolves. Tonight's topic is everything you need to know about your local wildlife. I'd ask you to please hold your questions to the end so Dan can get through his presentation. And this presentation is being videoed and it will be posted both on the town website as well as the Swampscott Conservancy's website, so you can pass that along to folks who aren't here in person and want to hear him. So please help me now give an enthusiastic welcome to Dan Proulx.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm mic'd up here. Well, makes me sound good, huh? I appreciate Swampscott, the Conservancy, for arranging this. I feel that I owe Swampscott due to them helping me with the animals over the years. Technically, animal control officers really don't deal with wildlife, only if it's in, I'll go over this stuff, but it's only if it's in your living quarters of your home, like if you have a raccoon in your living room or your kitchen or something to that nature. If you got an injured rabbit or injured bird, usually animal control does not respond, okay? Technically, it all goes by the different municipalities, and Swampscott's still working on theirs. Before I start, I had an upper palate expansion done 4 years ago. Okay, when I was a kid, I should have got the expander done, but I didn't do it. I fought my parents and I won, but they were right all along. So as an adult, you have to have it broken. And then, so it was really painful the first year. 2 months ago, the braces were supposed to come off. There was a problem. I had a gap like this. I looked like I was missing a tooth in the middle, but it was actually just my two teeth spread apart. What it did was they broke it and they bring it together like that. It helps with, I didn't realize I had migraines. I didn't realize that I had sleep apnea symptoms because of it. I did a bunch of sleep studies and it just kept coming up negative, but I still had the symptoms. Ever since I've had the surgery, after about a year and a half, those symptoms kind of faded away. So if you have a small child that's having a whole bunch of mental health issues, ADHD, can't sleep, all that stuff, sometimes it's not mental, it's dental, okay? So have them checked out. Always check out your teeth, get them fine-tuned as much as you can. As it shifts and closes, it opens and closes, sometimes it's hard for me to say some words. So I try to articulate a little bit more, but if I mispronounce some words, it's because of that. But next month, maybe 2 months from now, the braces will come off and it'll be well worth it. Okay. All right. So like they said, I was the animal control officer for 3 years. About maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, I lost track. I left due to wanting to work with wildlife exclusively. I was able to go up to New Hampshire 2 to 3 days a week for the last 7 months and work with the birds of prey with Jane Kelly. I appreciate the hard work she's given me. She actually moved to Wisconsin, so On the Wing moved to Wisconsin and is no longer in New Hampshire. So with that said, this spring I'll be moving to New Hampshire to restart Birds of Rehab Prey in New Hampshire. I will still be helping down here because everybody has my phone number. My cell phone number is my number. It's online. I've had the same number forever. And all you have to do to find me is Google my name and you'll get my phone number. Okay? If you ever find an animal, text me. Text me is the best way to alert me. A lot of times I won't answer the phone if I don't know the number and just get the voicemail. So if you text me, that's the fastest way to reach me. Okay? The reason why I'm moving up to New Hampshire is every time I go up there, the blood pressure goes down. It's beautiful up there. It is absolutely beautiful. There's no potholes. There's no traffic. There's lots and lots of birds flying all around. Here, it's been extremely difficult helping with the birds of prey due to the rodenticides. I'll be going over that at the end. There's a special treat for you guys at the end. You'll find out what it is. But it has to do with birds of prey, okay? I'll just tell you that. All right, with that being said, let me start. This is actually one of my favorite photos. This is a Japanese maple with a raccoon inside of it. Someone opened up their pool cover, so there was a cascading waterfall, and there was a whole bunch of raccoons living in there. So what we did is we just simply turned on the water slowly. They all came out. One climbed up a tree, and I said, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and I took a picture. So I actually got a nice canvas made of it and stuff, and it looks really good. This is what I've been up to. My favorite bird, other than a red-tailed hawk, is a Harris hawk. That's Grom. He's a falconry hawk, and he's trained to go hunting for rabbits. He had to retire due to going after rocks, so that's why he ended up at On the Wing. This is Magoo. Magoo is my favorite little owl. He's like 11 years old, and he's pleasant to hold. We were releasing a great horned owl that was actually picked up here in Gloucester. It was on the news about a year ago, to where a whole family of great horned owls, the parents were deceased, and the 3 siblings were on the verge of death. Cape Ann Wildlife brought them back to life and sent them up to New Hampshire to be fed every day and handled every day, and there they are being released. That's one of them being released. They allowed me to release it because I was the one that transported them up here from Massachusetts. I'll tell you what, it's scary transporting birds that people have been taking care of an hour and a half, because when you get there, you're like, please, please be alive. You don't want anything to do with anything when it comes to their lives. That is Musetta. She's a red-tailed hawk. She's one of my favorites because I love red-tailed hawks. So those are the first birds I ever worked with in animal control when I would get calls for birds down. I remember my first red-tailed hawk. I walked up to it, and it spread its wings, and I thought, what the heck is it doing? And as I walked up to it, I fell on its back, and I was like, oh my goodness, it must be hurt or something to that nature. But that's what they do, is they lift up their talons to get you, okay? So it makes it easy to be able to grab them. But back then, I didn't know. I threw a towel on them. I was all handling it completely wrong, and but now I'm very, very good at handling red-tails. And that's one thing I want to do up in New Hampshire is help the population of red-tailed hawks, especially down here. You get a lot of bird strikes, especially along the highways. You get a lot of owls, but red-tailed hawks you also see on the side of the roads. That is a turkey vulture. I had no clue what a turkey vulture was until I went up to New Hampshire. There's 3 of them, and they were being trained to be educational birds. I absolutely love turkey vultures now. If you do this to them, if they're nice, they'll put their beak inside and wiggle it around. That's kind of them saying hello. However, if they're being a little sassy, they will bite you and draw blood. Pretty much everybody on the wing has a little scar from the turkey vultures. But that's solo. That's me releasing one of the barred owls. Didn't realize how many photographers showed up to these things. We're talking a whole array of large cameras, and I had no clue that that was the case. So, but they got a good shot of me. You got my braces in there. Yeah. But I learned that when you do release them, you got to do them low so it doesn't block your face. The other 2 shots, the bird's right here blocking my face. So, but usually, you know, up in New Hampshire, they would invite people to see the releases. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of distance for the birds to fly away from everybody and go into the trees. Everybody really appreciates doing it. A lot of pictures are taken. They're shared online. If you go to On the Wing Facebook, you'll see that there's a whole bunch of releases on there. Like they said, I volunteer at Wolf Hollow in Ipswich. If you haven't been there, you should go. It is a really cool experience. That is Scully, one of my favorite wolves there. He's the first wolf that you see when you walk in. There's a total of 9 wolves there. 3 are still cubs or pups. We got them when they were like 2 months old. They're like 7 months old now. That's them now when we first got them, and that's how fast they grow. That's only like 5 months old. They grow super quick. But they advocate for the wolves. It's the only wolves in Massachusetts. I just got into animals of prey so much. I've been helping all these little raccoons, all these squirrels, all these rabbits. Those poor things get attacked all the time. That's why I'm going to try to help those little guys out today. We're going to try to bump up the population of them. But yeah, I went there and I asked if I can volunteer, and so I've been volunteering for the last 6 months every Saturday. Yeah, and I really enjoy it. It's like being a kid again. When you wake up, you think, oh, it's like cartoons in the morning, Saturday morning cartoons, that feeling to being able to go and stuff. But it does take a good 6 months to 8 months before that you're allowed to go inside with the wolves. They were all raised in captivity, and a lot of them are older and used to people. They're really cool. It helps me see coyotes in a different way now. Learning about the packs and the alpha male and the alpha female, and which is just the mom and the dad. There's no rough and tough alpha male going and beating up others to take over. It's usually the mom and dad having pups, and it's a family unit, just like we have here with the coyotes. So I'll be going over coyotes, and I know that it's an issue here in Swampscott, and we're going to figure out some stuff tonight what to do. Okay? This is Scully, and that's Kantaka. Aquila, actually. I'm still learning the names. Beautiful. Like I said, you should go online, Wolf Hollow, and get some tickets. Come on out. If you go on a Saturday, it's only Saturday and Sunday I have presentations. So I'm there on Saturdays. Feel free to come out. Scully, my favorite. Before I start, I wanted to thank Caping Wildlife up in Gloucester. They're the ones that gave me the first chance to truly work with birds of prey. I've been kind of a runner with Linda Amato to go check on birds that people would call about. I'll be going over that in a little bit, but I want to thank Jody Swanson and Erin Hutchins for their help and their educating me on how to handle the birds and how to examine them and figure out what's wrong with them. We've been through a lot, especially with this summer with the rodenticide issue. There's a lot of burnt out rehabbers because it takes a lot out of you. A bird needs a vitamin K shot every 4 hours, 24/7 for a while before it can regain its strength. So they really do a good job. And if it wasn't for them, I would have never been up to New Hampshire and met Jane on the wing. They're the ones that introduced me and gave me the thumbs up saying, hey, he's a good guy. Please take him, because it is a little hard to get in working with birds of prey. A lot of times when you volunteer with things, birds of prey, wolves, it's not you show up and you're just all hands on. It's you're picking up poop, you're scrubbing this, you're cleaning that, you're feeding, you're doing waters, and it takes a long time before the birds start trusting you and you start trusting yourself around these types of birds. Because all the birds that are up in New Hampshire, they're all healthy, especially the educational ones. And a healthy hawk or healthy falcon will get you really good. Snowy owls, I've got a couple little scars from snowy owls. They're probably the most aggressive when you go to capture them. Great horned owls, I have a high respect for. Their clench is the same strength as a wolf's bite. They will 500 pounds of square pressure. If you're not careful with the great horned owl, it will hurt you. Something else, you may get away with a little scrape here and there, but a great horned owl may put you in an emergency room. And so here we go. Eastern cottontail. These guys have it the worst out of everybody. Everybody wants to eat them. Okay? When these guys start having little bunnies, I start getting calls all the time. They're either hit by cars, cats, dogs, all that stuff. Everything goes after. I'll go over that stuff, but these poor guys, everybody does really want to eat the rabbits. They're herbivores. They don't get that big. Some of them do get pretty big. 2.5 pounds is pretty big. I've gotten some really big ones. But to be honest, they really don't live that long to get that big, from what I've noticed. This year, it's been kind of rough. There hasn't been as many. And I know this through the amount of calls. I probably got 50% less calls about injured rabbits. As you know, they're found in bushy areas. They're found in your yards. They love to eat your grass and poop all over your lawn. You'd be able to see all those little round balls in your yard. That's usually from the rabbits. Breeding starts mid-February into September, okay? That's important. That's really important. And they give birth with just under a month. So around October, March, because it's twice that they have their babies. It's early spring and then midsummer. March, they start coming out. And if you have issues with your dog or your cat, if you do let your cat out, some cats you just can't contain inside. You got to try to keep your cat inside. They kill a lot of wildlife. But if you do have a cat that goes out or a dog in the yard, and you've had past experiences with your dog coming home or your cat coming home with a little rabbit in its mouth, you need to prepare and get ready for the pre-season of rabbits. What I mean by that, I'll show you how to prevent them from making nests in your yard. Okay? If they don't build a nest or dig a nest in your yard, your dog and cat will not get them, which will bring up the population for these little guys. Mothers will feed the babies just at dusk and dawn, just twice a day, early in the morning and just at night as soon as the sun goes down. They do that out of defense, so the predators don't know where their nest is. What they do is they'll dig a 4 to 5 inch hole, put their babies inside, get a whole bunch of dead grass and a whole bunch of animal fur, sometimes dog fur. If you see, let me see if I have a picture of it. I will. If you see a patch of dead grass in your yard, make sure that it's not a rabbit's nest, okay? That's how you can detect them, is you see a little brown spot. It might be from where your dog pees, but a lot of times that's where a rabbit will lay its nest, okay? You cannot relocate a rabbit's nest. If you find one in your yard and your yard's fenced in, you cannot dig a hole on the outside of the fence, put the bunnies in there and put all the stuff and say, hey, there you go, Mom. I took care of your rabbits, because she's going to abandon it. She's going to think that her rabbits are gone. She's not going to trust, she's not going to come back. She comes and that hole's filled in and her babies are gone, she's done, she's gone. So if you relocate the babies, you're killing them, to be honest, okay? So do not relocate any nests, okay? If your pet does disturb it, if your dog does find them and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I was going to have a bunny's nest inside my yard, a good thing to do is you can take an old laundry basket, cut a hole big enough just for a rabbit to get in, put it on top of the nest, and put a large boulder on top of or bricks on top of the laundry basket. That way the mom can come back and forth and feed the babies, okay? And as soon as your dog finds it, that's it. It's not going to stay away from it even if you tell it. I've had people go out of their way and barricade the whole area and allow the bunnies to get old enough and go. As soon as their eyes are open and they come out, they're going to scramble. Okay? They're going to go off into the bushes and stuff like that. It doesn't take long for them to get big. Okay, if you are weed whacking or mowing your lawn, a lot of times that's how people discover that they have babies living in their front lawn. Okay. A lot of times, the lawnmower will get them, the weed whacker get them. I know this is tough, but this is nature, and this is what's going on in this town and all other towns, okay? I'm trying to prevent it from happening. If you disturb the nest, put some gloves on, put the babies back, and cover it back up. Hopefully, the mom doesn't realize that her babies were touched, won't notice maybe one or two's gone because something happened to them. You never know. If the mother thinks that it's been abandoned, it will not come back, okay? Okay? The best strategy to use to see if the mom comes and goes after it's been disturbed and you arranged whatever is the tic-tac-toe with strings, okay? Before I go into that, a bunny's major defense is the freeze or run, okay? When they're tiny and little, a lot of people walk up on a little one and think that there's something wrong, that it's sick or ill, because it's just sitting there and it's been sitting there for hours. That thing will sit there frozen for hours until it gets dark, and then it'll run off. A lot of times I've gotten calls, and I'll go up to it, especially when I was new at it, I'd go up to it to make sure it was okay, and it just run right off, okay? So if it is out in the open and you're worried about predators getting it, just scurry it along and it'll run off and hide, okay? But that is one of their major defenses, is to freeze. And a lot of times, especially early in the morning, especially around the Swampscott Plaza, I've had a lot of stores call and say there's a little baby bunny just sitting in front of the store. And a lot of times it's just because they were out there and cars just started rolling in and they just froze because they were scared. I'd go there and it'd just run right off. So always double check before you call a rehabber. I will be giving out the phone numbers and the websites to contact the rehabbers. There. This is the tic-tac-toe method, okay? You're going to put 4 pieces of string, make a tic-tac-toe. You see the hair? That's fur in the grass. So this would be in your lawn, this patch, and you can see how it looks like a dead patch of grass, okay? You do this, take a picture, because I've had so many people say, oh, I set it up, but I can't tell if it moved or not. Okay, so the best thing to do if you use the tic-tac-toe method is to take a picture like this person did. This happened earlier this year, and it was perfect. And I asked if I can use these pictures. So this is the next day. See how the strings are buried in with the bunnies? So the bunnies are under there, okay? The woman's dog actually found the nest and pulled one out. She realized that the dog had him. It was a little island near her driveway. So what she did, she was one of those people that put a big barricade around it. She loved bunnies and she didn't want anything to happen. I told her to do this. She did this, sent me the pictures, and said the mom's coming back and forth. Okay? If the mother does not return and that tic-tac-toe is still there, give it a good 3 times, dawn and dusk and a dawn. If it hasn't changed in 3 periods, call a rehabber. Most likely the mom's not coming back. Okay, the mom's just not going to abandon the bunnies. A lot of times you get hit by cars, you get birds of prey, you get foxes, coyotes, all sorts of things. You'll snag a mom, run off, and the babies are left. Okay. And sometimes a coyote or a fox will come, find a nest, grab a whole bunch, and run off. And the rest, may have little injuries, but usually I'll take the rest if a predator has gotten into the nest. Always wear gloves. You're not licensed wildlife rehabbers. However, they are not rabies vector animals, okay? With any animal, never put your fingers near its mouth. Never, ever put your fingers near its mouth because it will bite you, okay? Regardless of what it is. Little baby bunnies, they're harmless. You just have to watch out with pretty much all wildlife is just not getting any of their feces or pee in your mouth, okay? That is the #1 rule, because that's the way you would get sick if they have any kind of condition, okay? Is to get their feces or pee in your mouth. So if you use gloves, put them in a box. The best thing to do is if you don't have any kind of hand warmer heaters is get a bottle like this, empty it out, put a bunch of hot water in there, wrap it with a little towel, put it with the bunnies, okay? That'll keep it warm for a good hour or so until you contact a rehabber. Rehabber pick them up and take care of them, raise them, and release them. It is a lot of work raising baby animals. Oh, it's a lot of work, especially birds. I'll be getting into the bird part, but it is a lot of work. You have some people that feel so bad for these animals and want you to take them. But at the same time, you need to give them the opportunity to live, the opportunity for the mom to come back and take care of them, because it's a lot of work. When you do take them in, do not touch them, cover them up, leave them alone. Don't try to give them water, don't try to give them food, nothing, okay? Technically, legally, I'm not supposed to tell you to feed anything to them. It's against the law for me to tell you what they actually eat, okay? They drink a certain formula, and they need a certain certain formula when their eyes open up, all right? Because their mom, when their eyes open up, their mom will poop inside the hole, and they'll eat it, and it gives them that thing that they need. I can't tell you what it is, but just don't feed them, okay? We could tell if you fed them. We could tell if you fed them the wrong thing. We could tell if you fed them cow's milk. Their stomach gets massive. They got diarrhea, and many times they do pass away because their bellies are sensitive, and they can't digest cow's milk. So just don't feed them anything. They can go a couple of days without food. Okay? If you found them right away and it's only been 3 feedings, they can go a long time. So just take them in, keep them warm, dry, covered up. Don't show anybody. Don't play with them, and that's it. And again, it's illegal to keep and raise wildlife without a license. Environmental police find out that you have a bunch of cottontail rabbits and you raise them, and now they're your pets, so they're going to come and take them and euthanize them. That's what happens when you take home a pet, a squirrel, rabbit, any wildlife. You take it home, you feed it, and you keep it as a pet, someone's going to find out. A neighbor, all they have to do is call and say, hey, they got a pet squirrel, they got a pet raccoon, yada, yada, yada. They're coming, they're taking it. There's no sanctuary for whatever it's being put down. Okay, so if you become attached to this animal, you're going to be really upset. So the best bet is just don't raise them, don't keep them. Call a wildlife rehabber, let us come pick them up. If the rehabbers in your area are full, can't take them, you could just, I'll show you a map at the end to show you how many rehabbers there are, and you can just keep making calls. Early in the spring, the best thing to do is call far out west, because the bunnies seem to be born, and the squirrels seem to be born first on the North Shore and then slowly through the state. So if you call rehabbers to take a squirrel bunnies and they're full, your best bet is to call out west. Somebody out there, as long as you want to drive them out there, they usually take them. Okay? Because as soon as they get full, that's it. They can't take them. It's like a hospital. If you have too many patients, the care for those patients isn't the greatest. The more you have, the less care you can give them. Okay? So, and it's tough, but there's facilities, there's Tufts Wildlife, there's whole other places. I'll show you a list of them that you can call. Okay? All right, now we're talking about the proactive part. Early February, before they decide to make a little nest inside your grass lawn there, and last year you had your dog, tear up a couple, and your cat find some or whatever. You want to be proactive. Your best bet is to buy reflective pinwheels, okay? The type that where when the sun shines on them, they're not the same color and the same design anymore. That when they spin, if the rabbit runs up to it, they'll see itself and be scared off. You can buy a 10-pack online for $23 and set them all around the perimeter of your yard. If you do it early enough in February, they're not going to want to come in there, okay? But the big thing is you've got to move them around. You can't leave, like if you buy a fake owl, I'll show you fake owls, stuff like that. If you buy something that's fake and it's a prop to scare something, you can't just leave it there and 3 months later saying it's not working, okay? You got to be proactive. You got to do it like every day for a couple of days, maybe once a week at least, move it around. They sell stuff that is actually pretty good. A lot of things contain peppermint oil. A lot of things don't like peppermint oil. They have that's dried blood from worms. I forgot to delete that, but that's dried blood worms. It's not dried human blood or anything like that. But yeah, it seems to. I looked online, and even though you may have tried something, it may not. It may work for somebody else. Okay, wildlife is very unpredictable. They're all not the same. Sometimes they respond to things. Sometimes they don't. You can make your own peppermint oil. You can plant peppermint plants everywhere all around your house to keep them out of there. You can go online and buy a fake owl. I would say buy the bobblehead one, the head that moves around, okay? That way it doesn't say the same, it's just not frozen, okay? The thing is, you got to put them up high. If this was your yard here, you don't want to put it down low. You want to put it high because when the first thing that the rabbits and animals look for is that silhouette of that predator looking for them, okay? So if you take one of those and you get it, move it every day. Move it every day off your porch looking over your yard. You move it every day, you're not going to really have much stuff come in there. I've had people that's, I went to their house to pick up a rabbit or something like that, and they say, oh, I have one of those owls. I've had it for so long. It'll be all sun damaged. There'll be bird poop on top of it. There'll be squirrels running up past it like it's not even there, okay? They become blind and just don't even notice it anymore. So if you do get an owl with a bobblehead, they also make hawks. They're cheap. You can get them for like $23, $25 online. Switch them up. Get a hawk and an owl. Switch it up every other day. It'll do. You just got to be proactive. It'll scare away the mom rabbits, and they won't have bunnies in your yard, and the population should go up if everybody were to do that. Okay, snakes. People aren't big on snakes, okay? But if you got snakes living on your property, you probably don't have many mice or many rats. They will devour them. They'll go down into their holes and eat a rat and then use their rat hole as their new home, okay? So the last thing you want to do is take a shovel and hit it, okay? We live in an area to where there's not venomous snakes, okay? Out west, there may be some timber rattlesnakes, but they're endangered, okay? That means that there's not that many of them. So the chances of you running into a poisonous snake on the North Shore is very, very slim, okay? Not going to say it's not going to happen, but it's extremely slim. I'm not worried about it. When I first started, I thought this thing was poisonous. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, this thing's going to bite me. But then when I did more research and I realized, hey, it's just a milk snake, okay? You got common garter snakes. Milk snakes and black racers are the most popular snakes on the North Shore. If you have a garden and you see a black snake going by, you can jump back and say, oh my goodness, but at the same time be like, hey, I'm not going to have to worry about many rodents, hardly any mice. They will eat them. The bigger they get, the bigger the mouse or rat they will eat, okay? I actually brought my pet snake, Beetlejuice. He is a black and white ringed California king snake. He's very tame. I got him when he was tiny. He's called a king snake because he eats other snakes. Okay, I don't feed him other snakes. He eats mice that are already deceased and frozen on farms and stuff they're raised. So he eats about once a week, every 2 weeks. But I've had this little guy for the last couple of years. There's black racer's garter snakes. That's what they look like. That's a black racer. Okay, that's a garter snake. They usually got a green line running down their back. Okay, see a black snake? It's most likely a black racer. Okay, this is Beetlejuice. That's how small he was when I first. That's actually a picture I took that was probably a year after I got him. I got some pictures I couldn't find that he's probably this big, little guy. And the reason why I got him is for presentations. I knew that when I go to a presentation, there's going to be people saying, hey, why don't you have any animals? It's an animal presentation. So I got this guy and played with him all the time so he would be calm and gentle. And he is. He's calm and gentle. I was actually scared of snakes when I first got him, but I've learned to not be scared and actually appreciate snakes because when you have something, you actually learn about their behaviors. And you realize that as long as you're not rough with them, as long as you don't have super cold hands, you don't kind of mess with their tail. Their tail's a little bit sensitive, so don't be grabbing and pulling on it. And their head's a little sensitive. But other than that, I got this guy for this reason, to pull it out and say, hey, look, I got a live animal. I didn't name them for a year. I couldn't decide what name because I'm really big on naming stuff, and I like, I'm a little picky, and I like the perfect name sometimes. It was Halloween time, and Beetlejuice the movie came on, and that sandworm came out of the ground, and he was black and white striped just like this. And I said, hey, Beetlejuice. So that's Beetlejuice. At the end, if anybody would like to touch or hold him, that's fine. He's not going to bite you. He's very gentle. Yeah, he loves to come out. When they eat, they don't want to be bothered for a couple of days. But after a few days, he'll start popping back out in his aquarium. I got a big 40-gallon. I'm going to upgrade. The bigger the environment you have for your snake, the larger it gets. If I kept them in a small container, he wouldn't be as big right now. Okay? So those people that have those big, massive snakes, it's because they have those big, massive aquariums for them. It's not easy having a snake. The reason being is because they always need a heat source. So you at least have to have one heat source, a heating pad underneath. Like I have a heating pad here, and I have those hand warmer heater pads on this side. So I gave him the opportunity to go around, move around, whatever he likes, because this is actually the first time he's out in public. But I trust him so much to where he's perfectly fine. He's not going to hurt anybody. They shed once. Maybe once, 2 months, but every time they shed, they grow a little bit bigger. But this is I've actually been collecting them, and I was eventually going to make a little board and have the different sizes. I take a picture to see what day he shedded, and that way when I make my board, it's going to show the day, and I'll be able to see how fast he grows. But this is Beetlejuice. But if anybody would like to touch him at the end, feel free to. Coyotes. It's been a problem, I know. It's been a big problem. I live next to the golf course. I've had a couple come after some little dogs that I've been walking and stuff like that. I'm used to them. If I see one, I will go running after him deep into the woods as far as I can possibly chase it. When I did animal control, anybody who had coyotes in the yard, because this is way back when the turkeys were the issue, okay, and coyotes weren't that big of a deal. It was one around when Vinny was around, Vinny the turkey. Okay, everybody remembers that. But if you have a mom leaving her pups inside your backyard, you want to scare them as soon as you possibly can. You want to teach those pups that, hey, this is a yard that you don't come into. The mom will start teaching the pup saying, hey, this is a yard you don't want to come into. This person's nuts, okay? You want to act as super crazy as possible. As we know, they thrive in suburban areas, rural areas, and urban areas. Their average weight isn't that much. A coyote looks big because of their fur, okay? Especially in the wintertime, they look like these big, huge wolves or big beasts. It's mostly fur, okay? 30 to 50 pounds. My dog weighs 50 pounds. My dog's only this big. It's a little chubby. Okay, mother coyotes can produce 3 to 8 pups per year. Okay, they go by how much land they have to raise them, and they go by how much food is in the area. Okay, I do believe that there is a lack of food, and that's why a lot of them are getting bold. Yeah. The pups are born in April, May, and they come out of the den in 6 weeks. So around July-ish, that's when the mom starts bringing the pups with her. She'll find a yard or an area to leave the pups. She'll go hunt. After she's done hunting, she'll run back, get the pups, and the pups will all go back to the den. They slowly venture out more and more and more. And as time goes on, the older they get, the further they go out. So by the end of the summer, in the fall time, when mom starts pushing some of the coyotes out, that's when you'll start seeing the juveniles, the ones that are just like tiny, but they look like a large adult coyote, but they're smaller. It's a juvenile that was born earlier in the year. Okay, they don't stay. They're the alpha, male and female, like I said before, are just the mom and dad. Okay, there's no rough and tough, mean alpha male that goes around and beats everybody else up and mates. It's not like tigers and lions and stuff like that. It's a mom and a dad. They have offspring, and the offspring respects the hierarchy. They respect that the mom and the dad are the only ones that mate. If they want to mate and have their own dens and their own families, that's when they'll go off on their own, and the moms and dads will push them out. Okay? Why do coyotes howl? Okay, I'm sure you've heard them howl, and it scares the heck out of you. It scares the heck out of you because it seems like there's a million of them howling, but that's just how they sound. Their voices are pitching high and low, and they're not like wolves. Wolves will give a like a woo. The wolves at Wolf Hollow do it every morning around 9:30, and then later in the day they do it once or twice. They're just communicating with each other, and that's all they're doing is they're communicating. They're talking to. They don't do it to announce a kill. Okay, they don't howl saying, "Hey, we got something. Everybody come in and get it," because they don't want to tell other animals that they have food. Okay. So they communicate with other pack members. They're kind of like, "Hey, where you at? Hey, I'm over here." Okay. The reason why they sound so weird sometimes is a lot of the young pups are learning how to howl, and they're trying to mimic their parents, and they're just went up. And so that's how they do is they communicate with the pack. It also tells other coyotes saying, "Hey, this is our territory. Don't come here." All right, and that's why they howl so loud. It can travel up to 5 miles. Coyotes' range is 5 to 30 miles. Now, Swampscott's what, like 3 miles by 3 miles? Okay. So the problems we have up in Nahant, the problems we have all around, are most likely the same coyotes, the bold ones, the ones that are just are not afraid of people. Okay, so I've been trying to get Mass Wildlife to paint the bold ones with paint guns. Okay, to be able to say, hey, we're having all these bold ones come around the hunt, and all of a sudden those disappear, and all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of bold ones in Swampscott, and then Marblehead. Like we've had a coyote going after little dogs on leashes, even with the people there, but it's usually on an average after 8 o'clock at night, after it's dark. Okay, or 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I forgot to bring it. Some dog tags, little dog tags. The smaller your dog is, the smaller their little jingle is. And that little jingle is just telling the coyote, hey, we're over here, we're going for a walk, we're trying to mind our business. So if you go to PetSmart or Petco, they sell little tags that are rubber band things that wrap around the tags to make them silent. That's one way to protect yourself and your dog, is to have silencers on your tags. That'll also keep the other dogs from barking when you walk by their houses. Because you hear those dogs, they start barking, they can hear the dog tags. All right, keeping coyotes out of your yard. It's actually pretty simple, all right? It's like the rabbits, you just have to be proactive. If you were to go home tonight and you know without a doubt that you have coyotes coming in your yard every single night, if you were to go home and rearrange a bunch of furniture or put something in the middle of the yard, chairs or whatnot, those coyotes will go and say, what is that? And not going there that night. They'll come back the next night and be like, hey, everything's still the same. I don't see any kind of threats, but I'm still not going in there. Maybe by the third night, they're like, hey, that stuff's still here. Let me see what all this is. Okay? If you were to rearrange it all the time, especially if you have coyotes near your yard. And if you have pets. I'm really big on motion-activated props. And this is my Medusa head. If you have coyotes coming in your front yard, that's why Halloween time, when people have all these things going on, the coyotes scatter. Usually I'll hear about the coyotes. I'll hear about calls on the Marblehead Animal Inspector. I know about bites. I'll get all the reports for the bites. Everything died down around Halloween. All right. A lot of people are scared, thinking kids are walking around, they're going to get attacked by a coyote. They're scared to death. To get all these little monsters walking around with all these lights running around. They're scared to death. Okay. But a motion-activated, and this is waterproof. That's why I like it, because it's made of rubber. But anything that passes in front of it. Oh. There it is. Something like this isn't expensive, okay? They actually, and it's motion activated. So if anything's coming up by it, it's going to jump back and run, okay? So you can get all sorts of props. It'll turn off after this one. But they sell, if you drop $150 on something really big and nice, it will scare the living daylights out of a coyote. Especially if you put it on the side of the yard. If you know you have a coyote that comes through the yard, if you put it, you hide it kind of in the bushes, not put it in the middle to where it sees it. As soon as it walks up, it's going to jump. Okay, it's going to be scared. What I suggest everybody do, and I think everybody should have a trail cam, but a trail cam is simply those cameras that you see that the hunters will use. They put them in the woods. They'll have straps. You could strap it to a tree. I love to use the screwing part and get a tripod for it, where I just set it up like this. If you were to put this in your backyard, leave it all night, and in the morning, you go and you take the SD card out. I forgot to put an SD card in there, but an SD card is a little data card that you put in your computer, and you'd be able to view everything that comes across the path of this. You can do photos, or you can do video. The video will take up a lot, especially if you have if you leave it during the day and you have a lot of squirrels coming through. You have a whole bunch of videos of a squirrel just chewing on stuff, birds flying down and stuff like that. So my advice, if you do get one, to stick with the pictures at least the first time. That way you're able to see what comes in and out of your yard. This will tell you exactly what you got. You can buy like a 3-pack. Okay, this one's about maybe $70. If you were to, I think I have a thing on here. Yeah, there it is. The SD card. The more money you spend, the better quality. They sell ones that for like $130. You can have a built-in screen, so you don't have to worry about downloading on your computer and looking at it. Okay. They also sell ones for like $300-400 that will alert your phone. You pick up your phone and it'll show you kind of like a Ring doorbell. Okay, those are pretty pricey and they use batteries a lot. A lot of the dog rescue groups that set traps in the middle of the night usually use those. I have one at my house to where Massachusetts missing dogs. If there's a dog in the area, they'll call me and say, "Hey, can you set up that camera in this area?" And I'm more than happy to help them out. Let me back up here. Okay. Do not leave any food or water out for any animal. I know people are passionate and they're like, "Oh, these poor little animals, they need to eat. Let me leave some food out." The only problem is just not the food alone attracts the predators, but the small little mammals. You'll have rats and mice coming up in there that you don't even know about. But if you do have a trail cam, you're able to see exactly what's coming up to your feeder and leaving. If you have a trail cam and you put it at the bottom of your feeder, you'll be able to see all the rats coming and going. Okay. If you have a bird feeder, use waste-free food. Okay, that's the type of food where it doesn't have a shell. A lot of it's broken up. That way, there's less waste that drops to the ground, because you don't want any food on the ground to attract anything else. If you're going to have a bird feeder, keep it away from your house. And put a catch pan underneath it. Good thing is someone's getting rid of like a big hamster cage or something like that. Those are perfect to put underneath something. Just dump it out every day, and you shouldn't have that many rodents or rats coming around because there is no food. Okay. You can also sprinkle some cayenne pepper inside the bird feeder. The birds don't mind it. The squirrels and the other animals do. When it falls to the ground, a lot of them. Hey, can you tell her that I'll be finishing up? What time is it? Wow. Okay. I have a surprise for you guys. For the people who showed up tonight, it is a big surprise for you. This is the #1 thing to have for your yard if you want to keep everything out of your yard. They're on Amazon. You can get a $35 one, a $75 one. What you do is you put it in the middle of your yard, you plug a hose to it, has a sensor on there. Anything that comes in within the sensor, okay, sprays it, nothing's going to come in there, okay? Only problem is you can't do it in the wintertime. It'll freeze, okay? So early spring, get it out there and get it going. Okay. Weasels. These guys are getting pretty popular. I've gotten probably 5 calls this year asking me what the heck is this thing in my yard, okay? It's a stoat. It's a short-tailed weasel, and there's short-tailed and long-tailed weasels. These guys are relentless. They will go after rabbits. They will ambush mice and rats, things bigger than them, kill them, bring them back to their den, and store it. They store their food. So even if they're not hungry and they kill something, they'll bring it back. If it's in your wood pile like this one is, or somewhere on your property, that's fine. But if you got one living in your basement or in your walls, he's storing food inside of there. Okay? So you don't want that. But if you have one of those living on your property, you ain't got no rats. I'll tell you that. If you have a porch or a shed and don't want anything going underneath it, the best thing to do is throw some lattice on there, all right? You can put the lattice a little bit in the ground, but your best bet is to take wire and to put wire underneath about a foot down. That way nothing can dig a hole underneath the lattice, okay? This will keep out most animals. If you use just wood, a lot of things will chew through it. Your best bet is to use 14 gauge wire, okay? And when you do put it in there, and you put it into the ground, say this is a sheet that you're putting into the ground, you're going to want to bend a foot at the bottom, right? Dig a foot deep, and then bury it like this. That way there's a good foot of fencing there, so if something starts to dig down, they hit that fence, okay? Squirrels. We don't have a problem with squirrels. There's tons of them. There's tons of squirrels. Rehabbers get calls so many times for baby squirrels because, as you know, when you're driving down the street, you see a whole bunch of squirrels on the side of the road, deceased, okay? They have babies. The babies get hungry. They climb out of their nest, and they'll actually climb up to you, climb up your leg. That's how you know that a squirrel has not eaten in a long time. It is so bold and just wants something to take it that it'll just go up to anything. And a lot of times it'll go up to the wrong thing, okay? Squirrels, they go to sleep at night. They're out cold. As soon as the sun goes down, they are out cold. So they're only out during the day. Flying squirrels actually really don't fly. They're like Buzz Lightyear. They fall with style. You know, they come down. They have a membrane from the front leg to the back leg, just stretches out, and they just glide down to the next tree. They're actually nocturnal. That's why you really don't see many, is they come out at night. That's why their eyes are so big. There's baby squirrels, cute little buggers. They're born hairless, very vulnerable. Same thing with rabbits. If you do have some, or if you stumble upon a squirrel at the base of a tree, we ask that you, and anybody you call will tell you this, to put it in a box, put it with the heat source, fill the bottle up with hot water. You know, don't put it directly on the animal. Wrap it around a towel or a t-shirt around it so it's not directly on the animal. And leave it at the base of the tree. I've had so much success this year, it was unbelievable. I had people calling me and saying, oh my goodness, the mom came down and got them. We had more success with people going on YouTube and playing a screeching sound that a baby squirrel makes and put it in the box. The mom squirrel would be like, hey, my baby squirrel, it's calling for me, because a lot of times they're out gathering nuts and not there, didn't realize that their squirrel fell. They'll come down, grab their squirrel, go right back up the tree, okay? They're really good moms. Thing is, if you have it out there, and say if it's only been a couple hours and it's already starting to get dark, put it in your garage or something to that nature, because it's not coming in the middle of the night. A predator will come and eat it, okay? First thing in the early morning, put it out there. Before the sun even comes out, put it out there. The mom will come looking for it. If not, then call a rehabber. Don't feed it. Don't touch it. Don't play with it. Don't show people. Keep it dark, quiet, don't mess with it. That's all. Preventing squirrels from getting in your house, chimney cap cover. Can't tell you how many times people had bats, seagulls, raccoons with babies inside their fireplace. You know how like there's the fireplace and then there's the flue where you can open it up and it's that metal thing? They're living right up in there. The mom will climb out and go back down, and they love it because the sun heats up that chimney during the day and warms it right up. So a lot of things will live in there, okay? So you want a chimney cap. And you don't want ones with big holes, because juvenile squirrels tend to go through the little holes, and bats can go through there, okay? I've noticed that there's a lot of birds that go into chimneys of people who have all wood, like everything's wood. It's almost like a log cabin inside their house. That was the first thing I noticed. I kept seeing like people have stuff inside their chimneys, it's because they're just drawn to that. I personally think they're just drawn to that smell of you know, it's like a hollowed out tree. You know, that's, believe it or not. Always cut down limbs. If you have any tree limbs hanging over your house, cut them down. All right? That way they can't just climb over. Don't use a bird feeder. We already went over that. Also, if you sprinkle a whole bunch of raccoons and stuff, they hate cayenne pepper. If you have a tree that a squirrel or a raccoon keeps climbing up and going into your house, sprinkle a whole bunch of cayenne pepper around the tree. They'll stop coming. They should stop coming. You try different things. But don't do it when it's about to rain, because they'll just wash away. If you hire a pest person to get rid of an animal inside your house, technically, legally, they're supposed to dispatch it. It means kill it. It is illegal to capture something on your property and move it off your property. Okay? So someone comes and says, hey, I'll take this squirrel. Oh, what are you going to do with it? Oh, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. They're going to kill it. They're going to kill it. So you always want to hire a humane animal control pack agent. There's a whole bunch out there. Pesky Pests is who I recommend. They're strictly no trapping, one-way doors only. And a one-way door is, let me see, this is a one-way door here. If you know that there's a squirrel living inside your house, and you know what hole it's coming out of, you simply place that where the hole is. They can go out, but they can't come back in. Okay? Thing is, you have to make sure that it doesn't have any babies. You will hear them screaming and screeching if they do have babies, and then you have a problem because you got babies in your house and a mom that's trying to get back in. You just call a rehabber, call a humane pest person, see what they can do. Raccoons and squirrels are notorious for coming back and getting their babies. So if you remove a raccoon and it has babies in there, and you put the babies outside in a one box, the raccoon mom will come get it. They have secondary locations to bring the babies. This is also all of the stuff that you can buy online, Amazon. Say if you had a skunk living underneath your porch, you see that metal wire I was talking about? It should go under the ground. That way if something digs, it hits wire. Again, that's where a trail cam will come in, to where if you want to know if something came out of it, you set your trail cam up in front of it. You'll see it coming in and not be able to go out. If you don't have a trail cam, you can simply take a little stick. Like this stick, I would take this stick and I just prop up the door, and if I came back the next day and that stick was pushed over, something came through there. Skunks, they're cute little buggers, but they will spray you. They love to live under sheds. They love sheds. I can't tell you how many times people have families living underneath their sheds. Get a one-way door, place it on there, set up the camera. Just check the season where they have babies. If it's way before that, you're good to go. If it's way after it, the babies will come out with it. The little babies will always follow the skunk moms around. If you see babies wandering around by themselves, little guys, their mom's deceased. Call a rehabber. There's people who raise and love skunks. It's crazy. They love them. I love those people because they take the skunks. I don't do skunks. The thing is, even if you have a skunk, if you don't scare it, it won't spray you. They don't waste it on you. Possums, they are weird looking, but they love to eat ticks. They come laid out at night. You may not even notice them because they freeze. If you do walk up to one, it will play dead. They give off a bad scent to make you not want to be around them. And yeah, they're great to have. I personally feel if Salem Woods were to get, or behind the cemetery in Swampscott, if you go into those bushes, you're coming out with 5 or 6 ticks on you, guaranteed. Guaranteed. There's ticks in there so bad. But these guys, if there was an overpopulation inside there, I do believe we'd take care of a lot of that problem. Possums and turkeys eat ticks. The possums are marsupials, and the babies are born inside their pouches. They carry them around until they're old enough to come out. They will carry them around on their back just like that. Thing is, though, when they drop them, they'll keep going a lot of the times, and they'll come back for their baby. Turkeys. Swampscott's unofficial animal, right? Next, the runner-up is coyotes. we really don't have any problems with turkeys these days. Remember the old days when turkeys were the problem? And now it's not really, nobody really complains about turkeys anymore, unless someone's feeding them, a neighbor or something like that. You know, you have some people that will throw out food in their yard and a whole bunch will come in, and it just causes a whole bunch of problems. Just avoid them, let them be. If they have a leg injury, let them be, they'll be put down. They don't rehab turkeys with busted legs, stuff like that. They can live. If they can fly, roost, if they can eat and get around, just let them be. They'll be fine. If not, 95% of the time they'll be put down. Okay? Raccoons are my favorite. They are a rabies vector though, and don't touch them. Babies, don't touch. Do not touch them. Call somebody, pest person or a rehabber if you ever run into a raccoon issue or problem. Breeding starts January, March. Give birth in about 2 months, so April and May. If you have a raccoon problem in your house at April and May, and something's living in there, you probably have babies living in there, okay? You gotta hire someone to get them out, get the babies out, put the babies so they can take them properly, and clean it out because you don't want urine and feces from animals in your house. Raccoon cubs stay with their mom for a year, so if you see a little one, it's not gonna make it, okay? You call a rehabber. If you have a raccoon in your home, in your living space, animal control will come and get it, okay? But it has to be in your living space. Can't be in your attic, can't be in your wall, can't be in your unfinished basement, okay? If it's running around your house and you're screaming because you left the door open and there's a raccoon in your house, best thing to do is just open up the back door, okay? If you give wildlife a way around you or to go, all you gotta do is make a whole bunch of noise, you'll scare it or run off. If that thing won't leave, call animal control. Animal control should come out and get it. Technically, legally, it's dangerous. Danger to the public, okay? It is the living space. It's pretty much like that with most animals, squirrels and stuff like that. But if it's in your attic or your walls or whatever, they'll tell you, just don't even bother the animal control, don't bother the police department, call the pest control. It's gonna cost you a good amount, but hey, you just have to make sure that you plug up the holes and you prevent it from happening next year. Turtles, if you see one crossing the road, it's just trying to get to the other side. Seriously. A lot of times they get hit. If you see one with cracked shell, a little bit of blood, it needs help, okay? Their shell is actually their bone structure. And they don't leave their shell and go get a new shell like snails and stuff like that. If you see one on the road and nobody's coming and it's super safe and it's just sitting there and it's going really slow and you're on a back road or something like that, get out, help it along the road. If it's small, if it's a big snapper turtle, leave it alone and snap your finger. Pretty bad too. But the thing is, just leave it alone, okay? Unless it needs help. If it needs help, call a rehabber. Don't call animal control. Animal control is not going to help with stuff like that. They're busy with domestic stuff, dogs and cats and all sorts of things. It is a hard job. It is a difficult job. You're called all the time. Dogs are unpredictable, just like wildlife, okay? So it is a busy job. These things I can't stand. These window whales. They're a death trap to small animals, especially possums, skunks, and rabbits. They're constantly falling inside, and if you have no clue that the one fell inside, it's gonna die, okay? If you do see one in there, all you gotta do is get a board, 2x4, lay it in there at an angle, okay? If it's a rabbit, it's not gonna climb out itself. Just get a box or a bucket, put gloves on, scoop it out, give it a good toss, okay? Go to the hardware store, they sell covers that are super cheap. That are super cheap, and you just put a cover on there, okay? It also helps if you have your grandkids over and they're running around the house. You don't want them falling inside there. Some of them are pretty deep. If you put a board in there and it's a skunk or a possum, they're not gonna leave until it's dark. They're not gonna be like, hey, way out, let me run up there during the day and stuff like that. They're scared to death. You put the board in there, go to sleep, next morning, check it out, okay? Should be gone. Rabies, is a serious thing. These animals can have it. It's pretty rare. I've only seen it a few times in the past few years, or several years, and it's a rabies vector animal. You shouldn't touch it, go near it, or anything like that. Okay. Mass Wildlife would be really upset if I was telling you how to handle a raccoon or skunk or something to that nature, because it is a rabies vector animal, and they can bite you. They got a pretty good bite. I've only been bitten by a raccoon, and I think that's it. No dogs or anything like that, which is pretty. I've had a couple of pit bull almost try to bite me in Lynn. This guy, I don't think it's going to play. This is a video of, usually people say, I saw a raccoon during the day, I think it has rabies. It doesn't. All right, and most likely his tree fell over, something happened to its home and it's out during the day, or it's got babies and it's trying to find food. If it's walking around in circles like this thing is, falling over, there's something wrong with it. If it's walking in a straight line, climbing up, running across the fence, it doesn't have rabies, okay? It may be super early on stages, but they're uncoordinated, they fall over, they're not going to be able to walk a straight line. A lot of them act like they're blind, and they'll paw because they use their hands. They have a lot of senses in their hands, so you just see them going like this, trying to feel for stuff, okay? Call animal control if you see that, okay? Because it is a danger to the public. It'll be put down, and the only way to test for rabies is brain tissue. So if your dog gets bit or something like to that nature, it has to go to a vet. The vet puts it down, head's cut off, sent off to get tested. Okay, you can't shoot it because you have to test the brain. Animals with rabies tend to bite stuff. They gnaw on things. It's not a great picture, but this is the only bat that I really got that had the symptoms of rabies and actually died, so I think it might have rabies. I've been an animal inspector for bobblehead for a long time. Anytime there's a bat inside your house, if anybody thinks that they got bit, or there's a baby in the house, or someone who's elderly that's mute or can't talk, or anything of that nature, the bat has to be put down and tested. I've had probably 15, 20 bats tested and all come back negative. Okay? If you walk into your house and see a bat flying around, just open the door, right? If I were to take a fishing line and hang it all around here and release the bat, that bat would go around it, no problem. Back in the day, we used to think they get tangled up in your hair and all this stuff, but it's just because you're acting crazy and flailing your arms. If you were to walk into a room with bats flying there, if you were to stand still, that thing would just fly around, okay? Open up the doors, watch it leave, because the worst thing to do is not know if the bat left or not. People don't sleep for days, I tell you, for days. We all have titers in our blood, the antibodies. If you're between a 6 and a 12, usually that helps you prevent from getting rabies. If you get bit by something that's a rabies vector, go to your doctor. You're most likely going to get a rabies vaccinations, just in case. This guy had rabies. See what I mean about chewing on stuff? His nose is all mangled up, his mouth's all mangled up. That's all he was doing is chewing on stuff, okay? Dog ran around the corner, he was there, went after him, they fought. The dog's fine, dog had his rabies vaccination. Got some boosters, was perfectly fine. So your dogs, that's why we have them get a rabies vaccination. That's why they would like for you to get your cats rabies vaccinated, is because your cat may run into a rabies vector animal and it may fight it, and if your cat hasn't been to the vet in 10 years, never got its rabies shots, you might have a cat inside your house with rabies. All right, so if you have a cat, and it's especially outdoor, you're going to want to get a rabies vaccination. Get all the shots it needs. Try to keep it indoors. Bats, I'm a big bat lover. See, this one's all mangled up. He can go to rehab, he's fine. If you find a bat in the middle of winter and it's in your house, if you release it, if it doesn't fly up and go back into your house, it's going to die. Okay? They don't survive in the winter. Okay? Big brown bat's the most popular bat. A lot of the other bats are endangered. It's because of white noise syndrome. There's a fungus that was growing, causing them to leave the caves early from hibernation, because bats hibernate. They'd go out and they would die. Okay? But they actually found a way to reverse it and take care of it. So the numbers are going back up. See those teeth? That's to crack the shell of those really strong armored bugs. That's all they are for. They're not for you. They're not going to come after you and bite you. Okay? If you grab one or whatever, hold on, he's going to bite you. But if you just let it fly around, he's not going to bother with you because you're King Kong to it. Okay? So just let the bat fly around your house, open up the door, and let it go. Okay? Unless you have a wound or something or if you wake up in the middle of the night and the bat's flying around your house, we don't know if you got bit or not. We don't know if you rolled onto it. Okay? Bats will live in your attic. Whenever it gets super hot, super cold, they tend to come down. Okay? Like when we had the heat wave come, probably had like 6 or 7 people with bats in their house because it gets way too hot in the attic, so they come down. We should open up the door, they fly right out. Not a problem. Get your roof checked. They can climb in through a little bit of hole. If If you had a bat in your house, hire somebody, have them caulk up all the holes in the roof, make sure there's no ways to get in. That's all you got to do. And if you're not sure there's a bat inside your attic, get a trail cam. Set it up in your attic. You could see it, you could be pitch black and still record or take pictures of things flying around. Okay. Bat removal, hire somebody if you got a whole bunch of bats in your house. It's a big job. It's just too much for do it yourself. Don't do it yourself. Hire someone and have them do it. That's a one-way door, just like the animals. They can climb out of there. And seals on the beach. If you see a seal on the beach, leave it alone. Okay, especially little baby ones. Leave them alone. They're just resting. Mom's out, not too far away, and it's resting. That's all. They don't want to be approached. They don't like people. That's why if you do go near a seal, whatever, it just goes right back into the water. People think see a little baby seal on the beach, say, "Oh my God, it's orphaned. The poor thing's going to die." Whatever. It's just resting because it's tired from swimming, and all you're doing is forcing it to go back into the water and swim when it's tired. Okay, and it's just trying to heat up in the sun. You'll know an animal is injured, like a seal or something, if it's there all day and people are walking up and past it and it's not doing anything. Something's wrong with it. You call NOAA. NOAA, they take care of any injured or entangled wildlife. Right here's the number. You can write it down. We had a problem with a seal on the beach that was injured a few years ago. It's probably the worst call I ever had. Museum of Science used to take care of it. They stopped doing it. They were supposed to do it. Everybody was saying, "You take care of it." It was like a big mess, and it took them forever to get out there. And it was like there for a day and a half. I learned a lesson. I got a whole bunch of numbers now. I got a whole bunch of cell phone numbers. I'll wake somebody up to help me out. Seabirds, same thing. If there is a seabird on the rocks or the beach, most likely it's about to pass. Okay? They spend all their time out in the ocean. If they're on the beach, they're passing. They're going to pass. Like a 98% success rate on rescuing things like this, eiders and whatnot. Secure all your trash. If you see trash at the beach, pick it up. Especially plastic bags and plastic stuff. We had a seal entangled in a balloon and a string not too long ago. It was on the internet. I went down there. I didn't see it. NOAA came out, couldn't find it. Hopefully it unentangled itself and carried on. But a lot of things are dying whenever, if you pick up a balloon with a string on the beach, you saved a life. Okay. Bird feeders, we already went over that. Use cayenne pepper inside the feeder if you have to have one. It'll keep the rodents away. Birds, tons of birds hit windows all the time. They get chased by hawks. They're flying to the doors and windows. Most of the time they're stunned. Right? If I come and get it, most likely I put it in a box. A few hours later, it flies out of the box. That's all you got to do. You can just leave it on your porch and just leave it. Or if something's going to get it, get some gloves, put it in a box like this, leave the box open. In a few hours, if it didn't fly away, call a rehabber. Okay? Birds. Okay, baby birds. All birds fledge and branch, meaning that they get too big for the nest. They fall out, they go to the ground. Someone's walking by and they see this and they're like, "Oh my goodness, poor little thing. I got to take you home." They go home and they called me. And I'm like, "Did you see the mom and the dad come down and feed it?" And they're like, "No." So I forced them to go back, put it back. It's an old wives' tale. They can't smell really well, all right? It's time that does it, not the smell. So if you ever see a baby bird chirping on the ground, give it plenty of room and watch, and after a while, the mom and dad will come and feed it. Most mother and father birds feed it, so the chances of a mother and father being deceased is really low. So don't bird nap. It is a lot of work raising a little baby bird. They eat all day, you know, and then you got to train it to eat off the ground, and then you got to train it to hunt stuff and eat. If not, it'll die when you release it. Even birds of prey branch and fledge. Okay, that's what I did mostly this summer. Is I was getting all the calls for all the birds, baby birds, to go check on them, make sure they weren't injured or sick. His mom was flying all around. It came down, fed him, so I left. Give it plenty of space. Just give it some time and watch for the mom or dad to come. If it's in the middle of the road, yes, move it off to the side and stuff like that. Other than that, just let nature do what it has to do. These are two that are in. Great horned owl, I didn't want to leave this guy because it was a children's playground not too far from there, but I have to leave it, you know. Same thing with that guy. Foxes, I don't have too much on foxes. Foxes are actually kind of cool. You hardly see them. They don't cause much problems. They are getting a lot of mange. So we've been seeing a lot of foxes running around with no hair. They're just too fast. You can't trap them. It's just unfortunate. Okay. And their kits, their babies are cute as heck. There's two types of foxes, gray and the red. The gray you will hardly ever see because they're more elusive than the red. The red fox you may see during the day. It doesn't have rabies. It's just out hunting. Unless it's running into walls, falling over, growling, biting on stuff. Mange is pretty bad. It's a mite that goes on and burrows under the skin. Hair falls off. It gets so bad that the elements kill the animal. Coyotes and foxes have it terrible this year. Really bad. A lot of the pups. That's why I do believe also that the coyote pups, a lot of them are going to die off because of it. So the numbers will go back down. This is one that I rescued in Linfield. It had severe mange. I rescued it. Tufts got it healthy, and then I released it. It was in an area where I felt comfortable releasing it back into the wild because it's very rural and there was lots of restaurants along the highway, so I know there's lots of rats. So it needed it. They got tags and all that stuff. I ended up calling the police saying, hey, I just released back a coyote. Call me if something happens. And I was scared for like a week. I was afraid something bad was going to happen, and they'd be like, hey, these tag numbers, and they'd like lead back to me, but it was fine. It's been like 6, 7, 8 months now. Coming school, Tufts Wildlife Clinic, write this number down. These guys will pretty much take anything you have, okay? They'll take everything. It's a university that trains vet techs and physicians, veterinarian physicians. It's in North Grafton. It's exactly 1 hour. 1 minute. You good? Injured, sick birds. You got to watch out for avian flu. This year was really bad. We had avian flu really bad. A lot of birds died. North Grafton was the only place taking them. I hated having to tell people I can't touch them because I was going up to New Hampshire so much working with birds of prey and educational birds. Last thing I wanted was to bring avian flu into there. So I didn't help many birds other than birds of prey this year. Tufts took them though. Avian flu, if you have a seagull that's just sitting in your yard and deceased or dies, it most likely has maybe avian flu. They usually have a head tick. Just watch where you step. If it's on your property, it's your problem. Animal control will come and take a dead animal out of your yard. Best thing to do is wear gloves. If it's a bird and you suspect avian flu, wear little covers over, tie little bags on your shoes like shopping bags. Wear a mouth cover and put it in a trash bag, and then put that in a trash bag, and then put it in a trash bag again. So 3 times. Throw it in your trash. Or go to the dump if there's a dump. This is also a video. This is avian flu symptoms. Red-tailed hawk that I picked up, a young one. It turned out it had avian flu. Anything with avian flu doesn't last long. It was deceased the next day. Came back positive avian flu. I just went over this. Triple bag stuff, throw it in your trash. If it's summertime and your trash doesn't come for a while, it's going to stink. So figure out a way to get it to a dump or somewhere else. Okay. Rodenticides. Okay, we're about to bring the surprises in. I'm going to go to rodenticides, another slide, and then bring them in. Okay. This is what's inside those black boxes you ever see around. Poison in there. Okay. Poison. The rats will eat them. Mice will eat them. They'll go out. They'll die, or just sit there and comatose. And the birds of prey will come. Raccoons, foxes, coyotes. They'll come and eat them. This is a new generation to where only 1 dose will kill a rat. Okay. The other poison they got used to in their immune system, so they were eating plenty of poison, but not dying. So they came out with something a little bit more powerful. Only problem is that it killed so much wildlife. If your pest control person is putting this there and he says it doesn't harm any other wildlife except for rodents, he's lying to you. He's lying. I hate that stuff. There's room to set a live trap. The only problem is what pest person wants to go and check a trap every day or every other day. And you can only set up one. Okay, so that stuff's about to go out the window. The only problem is the multi-million-dollar thing, and people make a lot of money. There's other ways, which are, this is the great horned owl. It's picked up in Marblehead, rodenticide. See how pale the mouth is? They pretty much just get sick and die. That guy made it. That was on top of the VFW in Marblehead. I do believe there's a lot of rat bait poisons near the dump. Okay. If you have a rat problem, the most humane thing to do is use the live trap, okay? If you have a heart, if you forget, that thing dies, okay? Goes crazy, it dies inside there, right? So have a heart traps aren't the best all the time. I've seen a lot of people call me and say, you know, I have a dead animal and have a heart trap. Best thing to do is take one of these snap traps, put it in even a container like this, set it, cut a hole big enough for a rat to go inside. You put it outside, okay? That way raccoons can't reach all the way in because they use their hands a lot. If you just set a trap like that outside, a raccoon's gonna come and touch it, bang. I've helped so many raccoons with broken arms, and it's from rat traps, okay? Skunks as well, that run around with the rat trap in the face, or a squirrel. Best thing to do is, remember how I told you squirrels go to sleep at night? Set this out at night. First thing in the morning, take it out. That way squirrels don't go in there, okay? This guy, and I'm happy with Swampscott because they're about to do it, to where this guy, it's called a smart box. And what happens is the rodents are lured in there, they're zapped with electricity, they go up in a conveyor belt and into a pan inside there, okay? And then it resets. The smart thing about it is whoever's in charge of those boxes, it tells their phone that how many rats it's in there. And it's very successful. Somerville, the city I grew up in, did it. And I talked to the guy who was running the program, and he says it's very successful. Peabody just started doing it. This is the wave of the future, smart boxes, to where it's going to replace all rodenticides. Okay? A lot of money because it's new. Peabody just set out like 50 of them. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty nasty there. They even make ones that are designed for the sores. Okay, those are really pricey, but I know that I've been talking to Sean. Sean Fitzgerald is a really good guy. To me, I appreciate him. He's always helped me whenever it came to animals. He's always returned my calls and helped me when I did animal control. We're working on this, okay? He thinks it's a good idea, and we're trying to work on stuff. This is how many rehabbers are in the area. Each one represents, like a squirrel, it's a mammal person, red means bird. So as you can see, there's tons of people. This is where you can log on and find them, mass.gov, massauburn.org, or just Google Mass Wildlife Rehabber. And it'll show you the list. You can zoom in, and remember how I said that if someone doesn't take something, start going out west, call out west. Jane Newhouse, I have a lot of respect for her. She's one of the first people, next to Linda Amato, that taught me, the basic things about animals, and allowed me to see her facility and stuff. And she inspired me to be a rehabber. So Jane Newhouse is a really good person. She's blowing up too. She's becoming like the king of rehabbers, which she deserves it. Thank you for coming out tonight. And we got a surprise for you. Hi. Come down here. Okay. It is a great horned owl. This is Wendy, by the way. I got a slide for her. Oh, sorry. Hey, sorry, took some. Oh my goodness, I love great ones.
I was surprised everyone didn't keep looking out in the hall. So, hi everybody, my name is Wendy Pavlicek. This is my wonderful friend Kim Miners. By day, I'm the director of the Burlington Science Center, which is in Massachusetts. We're part of Burlington Public Schools. I manage the K-5 science classrooms, 107 classrooms, and we have a large animal collection that we do educational programs in Burlington schools. And then by hobby and trade, I'm a licensed falconer. I'm the president of the Massachusetts Falconry and Hawk Trust. I'm also a resource that animal control officers and other wildlife people use just as a wealth of knowledge, just as Dan is a wealth of knowledge here. My friend Kim here is also a licensed falconer. We've been falconers for over 10 years. She's also volunteered at World Bird Sanctuary, which is one of a very world-renowned bird of prey rehab and breeding facility. And this handsome beast here is Edison, the great horned owl. Edison was found on the ground as a nestling in Burlington, Massachusetts, and he was found in the road by a post office worker. The police officers called me at the Science Center, and I went to go see if we could re-nest him because his mom was up in the tree in the nest and right on the side of a road. And after the post office worker tried to put him back, he ended up in the road again. He was probably kicked out by his siblings. And then I made the hard choice. I called Kim and my other friend Diane, and we stood there at the base of the tree going, what do we do? And they were like, you need to call someone to see if you can raise and keep this owl. You do education, you're a falconer. And I called, and they gave me permission, and I've had him for 8 years. I raised him like he was my child. I don't have any children. All my children are furry and feathery and scaly and all of the above. So he's going to be turning 8 this year. And he does education, like I said, in classrooms, at conservation talks all over the state. And most recently, over the past 5 years, we've been hunting regularly together as a team. It's a relationship of trust. And his first catch, unfortunately, was a skunk. He got sprayed, I got rabies shots. It was a whole long story. I can tell it to you later if you want to hear it. And then he caught an opossum as his second catch. And as a young great horned owl, that's perfectly common to be catching slow, large prey. And he's just a great guy. They're magnificent creatures, and if you guys are okay with it, I was going to fly him a little bit tonight across the room just so you could experience. I just ask that you keep your arms down, and if he happens to land on a desk or your shoulder or something, hopefully it won't hurt too bad. No, I'm just kidding. But just be calm. He will come back. But I'll just fly him around the room a little bit, and then instead of me tell you like another hour's worth of owl natural history, if you have questions about great horned owls or him, I'll let you ask me some questions, but just wanted to give you a little background about him and meet him. When I'm done, you can come up and take pictures and see him closer. He unfortunately doesn't like to be touched because touch is foreign to an owl. They don't have hands. I tell the younger students, they don't have hands, they don't shake. They greet each other in different ways. And then my friend Kim, after we fly the owl, she also brought one of her birds, and she'll introduce her bird to you guys and tell you a little bit about him. So here we go. We'll do a little bit of flying. Training birds of prey in falconry birds has to do with weight management, positive reinforcement, routine, and trust. So he is hungry right now. He is he ate yesterday. It's not like I'm not feeding him, but his weight is lowered enough to the point where he is hungry. His drive is there, and as I saw with the rats. And I have little tidbits of quail, which is a type of bird. It's a frozen thawed quail, and I'll be putting them on my glove and calling him with a whistle, and he'll be going back and forth from Kim to I. He might brush your head, but don't be worried. Can you go back to Kimmy? No, but he might. Oh, he's going to go to the desk. That's okay. together as a team. I'm the hunting dog, so I flush the prey. The bird learns that, and it's a working relationship. Because if you've seen redtails and other birds of prey, they sit on a pole for hours staring, waiting for their food to move. So as the falconer, you're pushing the game, you're pushing the prey, they learn that, and you become a partnership. Some birds you can release back out into the wild. We're only allowed to take immature species of certain birds because most of them die of rodenticide and other things. We are not allowed to touch the adult population of birds. And a lot of falconers spend their own time doing conservation talks and volunteering for different organizations. So just as much as they're out there to hunt and work with the birds, they also love the birds and the conservation as well. Edison. Try 2 more times and then we'll do the one big mouse. Oh, he might. You go down one corner, I'll go up. Okay. Sorry. No, that's fine. This is great exercise for him, so if you don't mind, we're just going to fly him until the meat's gone. So go ahead.
Edison.
No. Oh. He's like, I want these handouts.
Edison.
Go ahead. No, go to Kimmy.
I don't want to walk towards him. I don't want to.
That's all right. You can just get him to jump to you quick. Yeah, and then we'll calm down to the mouse.
What's this?
So owls mainly hunt by sound, and it's a type of almost triangulation, they call it. So one ear hole is higher than the other on the head, so when they're doing this and kind of dancing, they're locating by sound. So, and then we have the cream of the crop, the big mouse, because he's getting cranky. Sorry. Loud. Good boy. And he has large enclosure in my house. He stays there, and he's always a big hit. Flying owls for falconry is very unique. It's not something that a lot of people do. Most people use falcons and hawks, but they also make great education birds. And I love that he always puts his wing out here. But not a day goes by that we don't worry about rodenticide and stuff like that. It breaks our hearts when we see it, but we also spend our time trying to help out as well. So I hope you enjoyed meeting Edison. You'll get to meet him too. And, my friend Kim's going to take out her bird just quickly and
I'm all
yeah.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
Hey, it would mean a lot to me if you donate to the Burlington Science Center in Burlington or to the Falconry in Hawk Trust. It would mean a lot to me.
Yeah. You have a picture of yourself. You want to take the microphone?
So this is Klaus. He is a Harris's hawk. We do not have them in the Northeast. They're found in the desert Southwest. This is one of the few species of hawks that hunt in social groups. They call these guys the wolves of the sky. And the reason they hunt in social groups is because this little guy here, he weighs just over a pound. So he doesn't weigh that much. But where he lives in the desert Southwest, his prey can weigh up to 14 pounds. Kind of hard for one bird to hold that. They eat the big jackrabbits. And these guys hunt in groups, and you'll have the females that will flush an item out, whether it's a jackrabbit or a rat or a pack rat. And then you'll have a pack of 4, 5, 7 birds chasing that one item. And the reason they do this is because it increases their success rate, and it means that they will, better chance of surviving in an area that doesn't have a lot of resources. These birds in the wild have been seen sitting on cacti. And what's interesting about these guys is there's not a lot of perches in the desert. So you'll get one hawk that will land on the top of the saguaro cactus, and the next thing you know, another one will land right on his shoulders. They've been seen stacked in the wild up to 5 birds on top of each other. So, kind of stinks to be the one on the lower on the totem pole, right? So this is my personal falconry bird. I do hunt with this bird. He was actually captive raised, which means there are people that breed these in captivity, and I have permits, and he's my hunting partner. His name is Klaus. He's part of the genus of Parabuteo. We have some buteos that live around here, and probably one of the most common large hawks that you see are the red-tailed hawks, kind of a cousin to this thing. And the thing is I wished I could have brought a red tail today, but I couldn't. So you'll have to deal with just seeing something that's not native here. So, but all it takes is one poisoned mouse to kill this bird. And what's worse is if they're nesting and they bring that mouse back and then they feed it to, 3 or 4 or 5 babies, depending on the species, and then it kills all the birds in the nest. I don't know if he talked about this, but I know Tufts did research with rodenticide, and they found that every raptor that came in that they did blood work on, that came into their facility, had rodenticide levels in their blood. Every one, yeah. So, and it makes sense because, something that's poisoned is slow. It's easy to catch, free meal. Of course, the bird of prey is going to go for that. So, it's really made rehabbers are seeing this everywhere. And it's not just hawks, it's, bobcats and coyotes and even family pets, cats, dogs. Anything that eats a poisoned rodent is at risk for bleeding out and dying from the rodenticide. So, as I said, if you could find other means of, snap traps or, live traps, if you don't have the heart to kill a mouse, just please don't use poison. If you guys have questions about either one of these birds, we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Wendy, under normal circumstances, wouldn't that owl react to that snake if it wasn't in a plastic container?
Yeah, you would definitely. Yeah, great horns are known for pretty much going after everything and anything. Perfect example is the skunks because they don't have a strong sense of smell, although his eyes were kind of like he knew he got sprayed, although he didn't let go of that skunk. But yes, he would definitely be an opportunistic, the snake's covered and stuff, but if he's hungry enough, he would absolutely go after that snake, yeah. Yes?
I know that you said that the owl doesn't like to be touched, but my question is, how do they like to be pet? It looks like you were just petting your
I was actually assessing. So to judge a bird's condition, you feel the muscle that's on either side of the keel, and that lets me know how fat or how thin the bird is. And it's out. I have him out. I'm working with him. I was just doing a quick health check. He's okay with it. He doesn't love it. Most of these raptors would, like if you tried this with my falcon, you'd be missing a chunk out of your hand and probably going to the ER to get stitches.
And some people do like stroke their birds. That's right. And they usually do it on the chest, typically. And when you work with a falconry bird, when your bird catches something, it takes a long time for that prey to expire. So you as the falconer dispatch the prey to be kinder because it's already caught and it's not getting away. So you have to reach your hands in when the bird has that. I'm sure you had a picture up there of a bird mantling saying stay away.
Yeah.
So you build that relationship to the point where you can go in and touch their feet and grab their food because they know you're going to feed them part of that. We let them eat part of the meal that they catch, but then after they start to get full, you bring out a little piece of food that you have and you kind of transfer them to your food. So in order to do that and to put the leash on, you have to reach in while they're eating. So you build that trust. Some falconers regularly touch their feet and stroke their chest to kind of build that relationship, but he does not like to be touched at all. So it's just like us too. Some of us, don't mind being hugged. Some are like, just give me a pat on the back. So they're all different, but in general, they don't typically like to be touched. So, yeah.
Because usually being means death in the wild. These guys will kill each other, fighting over territory, mates, protecting their nests, stuff like that. They're not above eating each other, you know, so. Yeah. Yeah, I got it.
He's vocal because he's an imprint. He was raised with human beings. He just talks all the time. So imprinted animals tend to call a lot. I don't know, Kim, if you can extend on that, on why they're always so vocal, but they're just constantly calling.
Even non-imprinted birds will sometimes do contact calls. Like this guy's doing a contact call. He's not an imprint. He was raised by his parents in captivity. But I don't know if you hear him going, Yeah, he's doing that. That's, you know, I'm his hunting partner. So he's like, okay, where's everybody? This is where I'm at. This is where I'm at.
And I'll regularly hear young great ones in the family structure making this noise back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
He talks to the wild ones, they talk to me. And it's not that classic hooting has a different meaning. It could be territorial, it could be, you know, love is in the air. But the one you're hearing now is like, hey, you over there? Yep, I'm over here. Okay. How's everything? Good. Stay away from that rodent. That's poison. Okay, so they're chatty. He's not hunting, he's not resting, so he's talking. He's chatty-loo.
Is it a male?
He is a male, based off his weight.
Based off,
His weight and size. I do not have DNA evidence, but based off his full-grown adult weight, the males are smaller than the females.
now my understanding is that males have a less robust call than the females, and that if you run spectrograms on them, you can actually ID a specific great horned owl from year to year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think the male has like 3 calls, if I
Yeah,
remember, and
so-
the female has 5.
Actually, in the case that I did, it was 5 for the male
Oh,
and
5.
8
8 for the
for
female.
the female.
So the males have less.
But you can visually see it
That's
He-
cool.
on a spectrogram, it is.
So Kim's birds in what's called a hood. It's like a big box that they travel in. And Edison doesn't like those, so he just travels on a perch in my car. And on the way here, you know, he was hooting and making his noises. And I always feel like people behind me must be like, what is that in the back of her car? But he'd rather watch the world go by than be in the box. He does okay in the box, like he can go in there, but after a while he's like, nope. So I learned that he just likes to, so I have him on a perch, he's tethered. I tell my students this is no different than a dog having a collar and a leash. They just have them on their ankles, and this is the leash. It's state law and federal law that we have to have them restrained and leashed, and it's not really restrained, but controlled at all times. So that's why we have this gear or equipment on them.
I appreciate you coming out. And please donate.